So welcome back, everybody. Once again, we have a good friend of the program, good friend of the show, longtime Raider family, used to be a coach with us and is now with the Arizona Cardinals, thriving over there. Coach Brentson Buckner, what's up, man? The most dripped out coach on the sideline. Shoe game rivals more than mine. So what's up, Coach? How you doing?
Not much. Everything's going good. What's up with you?
Oh man, just living the dream. I was having a small heart attack through free agency early, but looks like the Raiders are starting to pull through a little bit. And I saw that, you guys got one of our guys and you guys got a stud in Rodney. And I know you coach with Rodney, and tell us a little bit about, what you guys got cooking over there.
Well, having Kyler Murray first, you got to always start with him, a dynamic quarterback that they took actually in the first round of the year I wasn't here.
Right.
You want to build around him. And, last year getting D-Hop, who was a blessing, was like for everybody around this time. You get D-Hop and you have some weapons you can build around. And, we started the offseason off, with J.J. Watts, was I never expected to get. That was another Christmas gift. Chandler Jones coming back. Really moving in the right direction. And when you have a talent like Kyler Murray, you want to put the best people in front of them. So getting a guy like Rodney, is who to me I think has Hall of Fame potential.
No doubt.
Getting a chance to coach in Oakland, just watching him work, a consummate pro. The way he leads, never missed times, played through injury. And he was just one of those leaders, and I played with a guy like DeMonte Dawson, who's a Hall of Fame center, and Rodney had that same temperament that I saw from DeMonte. Easy going, played, guys respecting him. When he stepped in between the lines, he was one of your true warriors. So, we're really just trying to keep up with the league. You got what Tampa doing down there in Tampa is freaking unbelievable. What they're doing, and everybody's making moves. So we think we got a chance to be special here, with some pieces. And I think with the pieces that we add, even AJ Green, you adding veteran leadership and you adding good players.
Yeah.
And that's the one thing here in Arizona that you're trying to build. You're trying to build a culture with a young head coach like Cliff Kingsbury. You want some leadership around him to help him, to allow him to grow as a head coach. And I think what we're doing here is making it better for him and Kyle.
Yeah, the guys that you have in there, the guys that you brought in are studs. You brought in some great leaders. JJ, is probably one of the best in the game. Chandler's been disrespected, I feel, in the league. He's been quietly leading the league in sacks every year, and he just doesn't get the respect that he deserves. And, I look at what you guys are doing. I look at what the Cardinals are doing, and it's huge. And I saw James just hopped in. But, you look around the league, and the league is changing. The league is picked up. We saw what Tampa did. Tampa went nuts. And I don't think any of us expected it. Obviously, you got Tom Brady. Tom Brady's going to do his thing. But nobody expected that. And then for Tom Brady to go out there and do it and to beat the Chiefs was huge. What do you see as the biggest obstacle this year for you guys overcoming to get past that 8-8 hump?
For us, it's just growth, maturity, growth. I think last year to be right there at the edge of having a chance to win and being a coach looking at it, and the games that we lost, it's all about maturity. Just knowing, being in those battles, knowing what it takes. And that only comes with playing. We was a young team. We was depending on rookies to come in and play through a pandemic that didn't have off season. Heck, our number one draft choice, Isaiah Simmons, he was a positionless player, but didn't have an off season. So he had everything he had to do. He had to learn. He had to learn on the go, and he still had a very productive year. So for us to go over the hump, it's all be about us maturing as football players. I used to say it all the time. We had a bunch of guys who didn't know what they didn't know last year. And so everything they was just learning. But now we got to mature, we got to grow by bringing in a seasoned vet like JJ, who's been through the battle, been through the he's had some injuries, but he has a chip on his shoulder because he's been great and he wants to be great. And now he has never rushed with a guy like Chandler Jones. Chandler has rushed with a Calais Campbell and with a Suggs when he had 19 sacks. So now let's see how JJ moves now with somebody that's going to draw all the attention. So for us to get over the hump, our young guys got to grow up and take a big step. Our veteran guys, they got to be our what we used to call 5-star guys. And when you step on the field, you know exactly what you're going to get from them, and they got to bring it every day in practice, meetings, and in the games until the young guys catch up.
No doubt. And I know that we talk about veterans and stuff like that, and the Raiders signed some veterans. And I know that you were there, big time developmental in the rookie class with Clee, with Maxx. You had Jonathan Hankins there. You had Mo there. Let's talk about some of what you've seen from these guys a little bit.
What I saw from them guys, we were, my style of coaching is not, I don't like to be a flash in a pan guy because that doesn't last. I'm old school where you build foundational growth. We'll take small steps, we'll learn, and we'll take bigger steps. And before you know it, you've built something that's going to sustain itself. I know last year, those guys having to learn something new because I'm a different type of coach too. And I consider myself a teacher. I'm more of a, get to know you type of guy. We're like family. And I know going from me to another style, it sort of almost can backfire on you. You know what I mean? And there's nothing against Marinelli because he's a Hall of Fame coach. I actually learned a lot of stuff from Rod Marinelli because actually when I playing against his guys, watching film, like, wow, I can use that, different things. But I saw guys like for Hank. Now, his maturity, changed. When I came in, he was an afterthought. He was a guy we signed off the waiver wire late in the year. He'll be all right, but he really grew into I think actually probably the best or one of the best run stopping nose guards in the NFL. Maxx continues to grow, but the thing with Maxx is, when you get a guy like Maxx has a big splash his rookie year, it's always going to be a step back because now it becomes a learning curve. He's starting to learn why he's doing stuff. As a rookie, he's just going, Coach, want me to do this? I'm go. But then it's always in that process, it's a place you get where you try to implement new growth and new learning. And last year was the year, but he still was productive. It's Clee. I hate it for Clee because I think Clee is a great pro. I think Clee is a victim of where he was drafted. But you look at Clee got stronger, bigger. I watched him physically do stuff he couldn't do when I was there. And I was like, you got to allow this kid to grow. The guys are not going to walk off the bus and become Khalil Mack, I would say.
Right.
Aaron Donalds and Khalil Mack, they come around. Those are generational talents.
Mm-hmm.
When you're trying to sustain something great, you got to allow those guys to grow into their roles. But, for those guys, I thought they was young. I thought COVID really messed a lot of people up. Because you got a guy like John Abrams who missed all his rookie year. Now he don't get the off season. You bring in new guys, you don't get no chemistry. And that's the one thing about it. You cannot buy a championship. You can bring in all these great new pieces, but until they start to play for one another and understand one another, that chemistry don't mix. You even look at Tampa. Tampa's chemistry didn't kick in until like week 11, week 13. Yeah. It takes some time, and they went off to win a championship because they got the ultimate winner in Tom Brady, and he could speed the process up. But I don't care how many free agents you sign, who you draft, until those guys are in those trenches together and they understand what makes each other ticks, and more so than what gets on his nerve. What can I make sure I don't do so we don't have that falling out so we can play better? Until you have those type of discussions and those type of things, you're going to struggle. And they happen with us here in Arizona. And that's what I saw with the Raiders. There's great talent. When it was clicking, but you had so many new pieces, you got to allow that thing to simmer and cook up a little bit.
Yeah. James, what you got?
Well, I just got back, so
I know you were fly fishing for the week.
Yeah, I was off grid, so coming
you
back
missed out on everything.
Chaos.
So we I don't know if you know, but the Raiders traded for Khalil Mack to get him back. No, I'm just kidding. Completely joking here, but no. James,
I know we got on the way back. I saw that we got. And it was odd because the tackle that I really wanted the most was Quentin Jefferson.
We got him.
And we ended up getting, it was like one of those fluke, like out of all the DTs out there, he was the guy. He has that size,
Yeah.
And, I was just like, whoa, hey, that was a nice little surprise. But
Yeah,
I'm excited. This line, when you look at every story, even Tampa, for example, every front four defensive squad has every defense is built with the front four.
Exactly.
Always.
100%. And I think, Arizona, you guys are off to a phenomenal. JJ on and off the field. The one thing that JJ also brings is accountability. Like he'll make you accountable. The way that guy, the way his work ethic. But I think the Raiders are making that splash now. Finally, I think with adding some size and some depth that we haven't had. I don't think since Coach Buckner was here.
Yeah.
And the thing about it, you hit the nail on the head. Man, great teams are won in the trenches. I don't care how much of a 7-on-7 league this becomes.
Yep.
It gets down to nut cutting time. When winning big games, you better be able to block, and you better be able to rush the passer and stop the run. And it takes time. You have to build the right pieces, but what you have to do is allow those pieces to grow together. You got to allow them to grow together. You got to allow everybody to have their role. I coached with BA. My first coaching job with Bruce Arians and with Todd Bowles. And their whole thing was always, you let giraffes be giraffes, you let lions be lions. And what that meant was you get guys, you get their role, and you let them be great in their role. You don't bring a guy in that's never been a leader and say, hey, you be the leader. Or he's never had more than 3 sacks. Oh, you be the best pass rusher. If he's good at stopping the run, guess what?
Stopping the run.
Be great at your job. And that's what happened. We had success when we came in here at the Cardinals in 2013 because he told every coach, define every player role in that room. And the ones that can do their roles the best, those are the ones we want on the team. And then we're going to go to war with that. We went 10-6. You know what I mean? Now he gets down to Tampa, and the one thing that Jason Light don't get credit for, 85% of that team are draft choices. Those guys have been in Tampa.
Yeah.
Brady and Gronk now was just like getting tint and rims on your car. Bentley's still a Bentley without rims and tint. But you add that in, but everybody had a defined role. And that's how they play. And I think it's such a copycat league. That is the blueprint. As coaches, we have to define the roles of these guys. Now, if they can't be great in their roles, you replace them. But don't expect them to be something they're not, because you're always going to be disappointed. And that's my style of coaching. People always say, well, why you had success with the Raiders? Because I defined their roles. I said, Benson, you're going to be a third down rusher. You're only going to play on rush downs. Be the best rusher you can be when you go out there. He had a career year. Hank, be my run stopper in the middle. Mo, be the fire plug that might start, might not. When you come in, you're going 100 miles per hour. Cleve, be the businessman, work hard till you go. Matt, just be the athlete till you learn. And that's how you build a team. And then as those guys grow into their role, their confidence started to grow. Then their roles start to expand naturally because they become more comfortable and have more confidence in what they can do good.
Yeah. No doubt. Now, as we look at the defensive line. Obviously, the Raiders made some big moves. You were, like I said, you were instrumental in a lot of those guys' growth. As we look on the other side of the ball, the Raiders had a great offense last year, and I think that's something that sometimes gets overlooked because the red zone offense ended in field goals sometimes. But what Derek Carr did last season in year 3 of John Gruden, I think, to me, was very impressive. I know that fans across the league or fans across Raider Nation are kind of divided on that. What did you see from Derek in your time there and now as a coach coaching potentially against him?
I'm a Derek Carr fan. I think I'm gonna put my Raider fan hat on. I think Derek Carr gets too much blame for stuff that goes wrong. I think Derek Carr is great at what he does. He throws the ball with great touch. He has accuracy. He can move in the pocket. I think his scrambling ability is underappreciated. I think Derek Carr is one of those guys, when he's on fire, you can't name 3 quarterbacks that's better than him when he's going. Now, is he a quarterback that can do it all by himself? No, nobody, no stretch of the mean. But when you're preparing to go against a Derek Carr, you look at the accuracy, and you know he has to be smart because John Gru's playbook is so large, and Derek can get him in the right plays. He can make the right throws. He can put his guys in position. But you forget he can take off and run the ball, which is just as dangerous in today's game. And so with Derek, you have to be smart. He's one of those guys you got to keep in the pocket. You got to make him throw, and you got to make him feel uncomfortable, which was hard because to me, I thought they had the best offensive line in all of football when all of them was healthy. People can say what they want to about Trent Brown. When Trent Brown is healthy, is not a better right tackle in the NFL. When Gabe Jackson is healthy, it's not a better right guard. We already know about Rodney. I think the left guard with Richie brought in some veteran, but Denzel Good was what Coach Cable did with him, and to pull out his best footballs ahead of him. And Coulter Miller is just becoming one of those classic left tackles that you can depend on. Now, you got those giants in front of them, and when they're running the ball and Derek Carr is comfortable, they're hard to beat. And I talked to some coaches that played them. It was like, man, because I remember when Tampa went to play them, they called me. I was like, look, their offensive line is huge. They're going to line up and punch you in the mouth as old school football. And so a lot of people think you put 20 on 10 when you tell them stuff. And I remember them calling me after the game like, man, you was right. That's the biggest, most physical offensive line we face. You don't see that type of offensive line in NFL no more.
Right.
But Derek Carr, I think, is a special quarterback. Derek Carr is a champion. I think, to me, this is my opinion, with the pieces right around him, he can be a Super Bowl winning quarterback if everything else is right around him. But you can't expect him to go out there and beat somebody by himself. You can't expect anybody to do that. Hell, Tom Brady just shows you he needs defense and weapons, to do it. He's the greatest winner of all time in this game.
Yeah, and I'm reluctant to say that about Tom, but I got to give Tom his props. I was always on Team Joe Montana, saying Joe Montana was the GOAT, but Tom proved that he is the greatest quarterback to play the game. I mean, his record speaks for itself. He's done a lot of things out there. He's won a lot of Super Bowls. He's done it now in the AFC and the NFC. He did it without Bill. Basically they said that he was a system quarterback. He proved that he was a system. And exactly. So, it's huge to see that. Obviously you hate to see it, as Raider fans, you hate to see Tom win another one, but it's always better than seeing KC win, right? But now as I look at you guys, and I see the Cardinals, and I look around the league, look around the NFC West. You've got the Seahawks. They just added Gabe Jackson because Russ is frustrated there. The Niners just added Trent Williams on a huge contract. I mean, Trent got paid. And then the Rams have made some moves, bringing in Matt Stafford. It's going to be competitive out there, but I'm excited to see what you guys can do because I know what you bring to the table, and I know what that defense brings to the table. What do you see? What do you see for your team coming up?
I think we have a chance to make some noise. I would like to say, but I think it's always going to be depending on how we work in the offseason. That's the one thing that I try to teach guys. I get excited when you sign guys, but I tell them after that goes out the window, it's about the work you put in. Not during the season, it's right now. What are you doing different than you did last? Because last year clearly wasn't good enough because we didn't win. What are you doing right now? You're changing your body. You're changing your study habits. Or you're changing what you eat, how much you rest. What are you doing to make sure that you don't repeat what happened in 2020? And so I see for us as guys start to buy in, or if they buy in, I would know when we reconvene, because now I won't see you making the same mistakes. Like I tell them all the time, you're going to make mistakes. I don't want to see the same mistakes over and over again, because now I know you haven't taken the time to critique yourself, and you think of what you did last year. If I do a little bit better, it'll be better. No, I want you to reinvent yourself every season. So I think if our guys take that approach and be humble with it, because the season don't really start until November. September and October, you better be able to put yourself in a place to be a part of the season. Because when you're in November, normally you like, all right, you won't be here next year. You won't be here next year. You want to be in the spot where all your games start to count. And so that's what we're striving for. But I think with the pieces we have And if people are serious about it and take to the leadership, and this is their third year in this offense and defense with Vance and with Cliff, I think this is when you see your growth. It's just like with Ricky's. I don't never give Ricky's grade until the third year. It's 3 years before you really know what they're going to be. If you're a true football person, you're giving them 3 years. So for this team here, this third year, you got the quarterback. You got the all-star. You got 2 all-star wide receivers. You got J.J. Watt, Hall of Famer. Chandler Jones back. Those Rickies that was drafted 2 years ago. Now you're a vet. Now you want to see it all come about. But I think our future is bright here. As long as we can just keep that hunger, stay humble, and keep grinding.
It's funny because everything you say echoes what I preach. Everything that I'm preaching all the time. I mean, it's basically you're speaking my words through your mouth. And I think that kind of goes hand in hand. I mean, obviously, defensive linemen, we all have kind of the same mentality on it. We look at the game differently. We look at it from the trenches outward and not from the secondary or the quarterback in. It all starts in the trenches. And James, that we all know when you coming out of the trenches, it's a different breed.
Yeah, we're not in there just bumping titties, for 4 quarters. I remember this one coach. I can't remember his name, but he said it was at one of these college conditioning camps, and he said, we all know you guys like to eat, and he said a season starts just like cooking. It starts with prep, and you've got all this preparation to make the meal, and each game is a course, and you're going to be graded on that course each game. And make sure you I mean the lineman dinners. I mean, we used to get, we used to have a waffle bet for our lineman dinners. If you didn't show up or were late, it was you had to spend 24 hours at a Waffle House or like an IHOP, and the only way you could leave is if you ate 24 waffles.
Wow.
So you could shave an hour off with each waffle. And I used to stack 8 to 8. I could do 16 back to back, or 8 to 8 back to back. But man, you only did that one time. But and that's one thing I noticed. Like when I played on good teams, we hung out together, we trained together, we bled together. And sometimes you get that wrong ego in that locker room, and it can change that whole dynamic. It can split 1 or 2 guys off that would normally want to be at the lineman dinners or be at the defensive back dinners or whatever, because they bring what was the old thing I used to always preach was when you go to work, you leave your troubles from home on the trouble tree outside, and then when you come home, same thing. Your work troubles, you leave those on the trouble tree outside. And some guys just it takes them a while to either learn it or they never learn it. But I'm excited for this league. I mean, Aaron Donald, in my opinion, is totally changing the defensive tackle position. He's on. I mean, he's one of those guys, and that's why I hate seeing Clee play out of position, but I can almost see Clee playing if he dedicated himself. I could see him being, almost like not an Aaron Donald, but that hybrid defensive tackle, defensive end position. So,
yeah, you really, in the league itself, I think the league created Aaron Donald because no more is it the 3 tight ends, the fullback, and we're going to power run the team. It's a scoring league.
Yeah.
And what offenses force you to do, they'll force little guys to tackle and big guys to run. So when a guy like Aaron Donald's coming up, I'm a linebacker size, but I'm a D-line body-wise, and I can run. Then you go out there, you become a superstar because as small as he is, he never has to worry about taking on double teams as much because people don't just sit there and run the ball like they used to.
No.
And you actually find guys that play with smaller defensive linemen and say, hey, teams are not going to consistently run the ball. So I give up a little bit of size at tackle to make sure that when you throw the ball, I got speed rushing your quarterback and I got guys that can fly.
Yep.
So they really are changing the position. And Aaron Donald is showing you that you can get a guy that can be dominant doing it. He's just the best that's able to do it. And with this coming draft, you're going to see a lot of defensive linemen are in that size of Aaron Donald. Might be an inch or two taller, but the weight is the same. But you see the speed in which they play. In years before, you got to put him at middle linebacker. No, he's a perfect 3 technique, or he's a perfect.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And that's the way. And that's the thing that's the one thing I'm glad you brought up Cleat. And I know he gets a lot of flack because he was never drafted to replace Khalil Mack.
No.
He was drafted to be Cleve Farrell, to be a great leader, to be a workhorse, to do whatever you ask him to do. And for a guy who's the 4th pick in the draft, that could easily say, I'm not moving inside the 3 technique. It could stand his ground, and people would be like, yeah, he does whatever the team asks him to do, and he gets berated for it. You know what I mean? And it's crazy. There's never going to be another Khalil Mack to walk into the Raiders facility.
No.
Because guys are just created differently. But as a coach, I learned to appreciate every guy for what they do, not for what they don't do. I learned to appreciate, and I can appreciate a person's personal greatness or good in them without having to compare it to the next guy. And I think a lot of time as fans, we get caught up in there. You got to be greater than the next guy. No, you don't. You just got to be the best person you can be, because that's the only person you can be.
Be better than yourself every play. Be better than yourself. Now, we're gonna ask one more question. I'm gonna end on this one, but I know that your son's been balling out, and he's committed to Oregon. He's gonna be heading out to Oregon. I see you posting about it. One thing, it's a 2-part question. One, are you more excited to visit the facilities up in Oregon, or are you more excited about the shoes that you're going to be getting from Oregon?
That's Nike U, dude. Oregon's always been Nike U.
I'm not gonna lie about it. I'm excited about the shoes. I was so happy when my son's foot grew the same size I did. I'm like, you don't have to give me just give me the ones you don't want. I'm a sneakerhead, and
Me too.
I'm happy for my son. Even though he grew up majority of his life in North Carolina, Oregon has always been the school, because he came up in the time those uniforms just jumped off. And when I was coaching him in Little League, we had to change our uniforms to mimic Oregon uniforms. Back when he was 7 and 9, so now he's getting a chance to live his dream. But I just can't wait. I'm just a shoe head. I can look at shoes online 24 hours a day, and to get a chance to put my foot in some of those Uncle Phil specials, it's gonna be special for me.
Oh man, I'll tell you what, when you get a chance to go up there, let me know. I'll roll up there with you. We can hit the employee store.
Most definitely. I can't wait. That's a big dream of mine. I'm happy for my son, but hey, I get to knock some off my bucket list too.
No doubt. Well, Coach, I wanted to thank you again for coming on. It's always a pleasure when we have you on. Anything you want to give a shout out to the fans before we head up?
Well, you always know it. One Nation, Raider Nation for life. I work other places, but when it's all and done, when I'm retired, I'm back to Raider Nation. Black and white ain't going, black and silver's not going anywhere. But man, stay the course, man, and hopefully we get a chance to come out there and rock in that stadium a little bit. I heard it's something special. So I hope we're Raider Nation, one love, man.
All right, appreciate you, Coach.
Appreciate you.